Today, I'm joined by Wales and Gwalia United goalkeeper Laura O'Sullivan-Jones to talk about what she's achieved in her career so far. So, Laura, can you talk to me about your career?
Well, it's an interesting one actually. It's not like being a normal start to like when you start football. I didn't start till I was 19 years of age. I kind of played with my friends or whatever. I did small-sided, which I preferred, so you're always on the ball and stuff. I didn't start till I was 19 because I was the shy person, never spoke to anybody. I was quite quiet. So like those environments were quite like intimidating, and there's like a lot of people that got big characters in teams. But I met Sophie Ingle actually in college, and she was like, "Oh, just come along, like you know me, kind of get me in the team, kind of thing." Went along, kind of joined it as like a left back defender, whatever, just to get on the pitch really. And I went back into my little box and was like, I can't do it, it's too much. And their goalkeeper got injured, and they were like, "Oh, do you just fancy a game? Like, do you know, it only has to be one." And literally from that moment, I was just like, "Do you know, I'm enjoying this. Give it a good year." And yeah, I was like, "I'm just going to stick with this." Really enjoyed it. But we were in a reserves league, and it got to a point where some games we were winning like quite big numbers. It was like 8-0, and you're just pouring down with rain. Your goalkeeper, you're not running about, and it's freezing. So I was like, I am not doing this. And then kind of was like, oh, I'm quitting again. And yeah, I was like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, no, I'm going to stick at it. And it was actually Jane Ludlow was in charge of the Welsh team at the time. And she did trials down in Dragon Park in Newport. And I was like, let's give it a go. And they were like, oh, what are you kind of trialling for? And I was like, oh, a goalkeeper, obviously, because a defender, goalkeeper kind of thing. Give it a go, nothing come of it. And 2 months later, she come to watch one of our games, and she was like, do you know what, do you want to come on camp? For it was like, you had girls with it on camp and were doing the whole week, they were staying on camp, and I was just coming for the training. And then after that camp, I seen them all go on to the bus, go to Israel, and I was just like, oh, I'm going home now. They'd all go in away, and I was just like, do you know what, this is really good, really enjoying it, really want to. It was kind of like that motivation, I want to be on that bus kind of thing. They got back, and the next camp I was out in Cyprus with them.
Would you say? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, just that was when my first cap was.
Would you say that's that moment of meeting Sophie Ingle, that was sort of the kickstart of that love affair to actually pursue football more than just maybe as a hobby, but more as like a career?
Not at that moment. I think back that when I was 19, football wasn't big. Nobody really knew about it. I didn't know there was teams out there. It was just a case of I got to know Soph, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I play for under-19s Wales," and I, like at the time I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, football wasn't a dream. Say, I just loved playing it, and it was I never knew. And when I met Soph, went into this team, it was like there's a world of football out here. It wasn't. I still only knew Cardiff is at the time. That's what we were called. And we used to play in the English League, so you never knew about the Welsh teams. I know we used to play in the Welsh Cup, but it was never really, you didn't have the social media that was so big. And yeah, it kind of means if I didn't meet Soph, I don't think I would have ever gone back. It was a case that I was so shy, and you needed that kind of person to push you in the right direction, really.
With your role within Welsh football in Wales for the women's side, that kind of what was that like kind of when you first went into it to what it is like now?
I suppose going back on that football wasn't big, so for me it was just, oh my god, I'm playing football. And when I kind of realised that, oh my god, you're playing for the international team, that's a massive honour. And when I literally turned on the first camp that I was going to Cyprus, I thought, do you know what, this would be a good experience. And she put the team out, and she was like, starting, and I was just like, at the time I was like, oh, this is cool. But actually getting on that pitch, you standing on the pitch is like Jess Fishlock, Yusuf, Lauren Dykes and stuff like that, and you're like, oh my god, these players are massive. And after that game we drew 2-2, and like after the game, and I was like, oh, that's like well done and stuff, and you just like, do you know what, I'm like, this is the level I could play at. And kind of it does open your eyes then to the football, and it just grew and grew from there then.
You know, with the way the landscape has gone, you're still part-time as well. So
Yeah.
what is that like, especially kind of in that situation where you're growing in your career, but also then you might be coming across with teammates who now might have gone from the part-time game to the professional game, and what that is like as an athlete.
Oh God, the big chunk of the career was a lot of the girls still were part time. The football didn't grow until God, it must have been about 5 years in, and it was very difficult because you kind of see everybody else going on to big teams and stuff. But I kind of where they'd gone into football straight after uni and stuff. I never went to uni. I picked up a job. I stuck with it, and I think it's so difficult at the time football was growing. The contracts the lowest paid, and you having to move home and stuff, and those big risks of you've starting off a career, you've got things you're paying for, and then you go to something that may only be a year, and after that, what happens? You get injured, no one picks you up, and then you're stuck, and it's restarting again. So I kind of stuck, and I wanted to stay, knowing that at the time that having a career beyond football was quite important for me, that I didn't want to put myself in that position. And then it got bigger, and it was just, for me, it was just too late. But I was able to, and like Jane was a big, huge part of that allowed me to train like more. They set up a small like academy sort of thing. She put me in that, and even if it was like the younger age groups, and it was a case of come along, do training, like at the end of the day you're getting more out of this. So I had the opportunity even to work alongside it, still play at that level.
With that as well, you said about Jane Ludlow and her legacy in terms of as the Wales, not just as a player for Wales, but also as the manager. What was that like, kind of that environment of not being in the qualifying phases, not just to be there to kind of, for experience, but also there to try and win?
Yeah, and look, it's hard. International football, you don't spend a lot of time together. So the environment that we created was that when we come on, it was like a home from home in a situation that you're 24/7 on a camp. And I think we just knew that we only had a small time together. So that environment had to be close-knit. You had to communicate. You had to just be constantly on it all the time. It was a lot of pressure. I didn't feel as much as others because I knew that, like, yes, it's a professional environment, but when I go away from it, I can forget about football kind of thing. It was like when I'm on camps, that was football. When I go to work, it's like it was a weird thing because you go to work and nobody talks about football. Nobody knew about football, so it was kind of they're totally different environments. But yeah,
what's that like? That kind of the obviously the sort of development of time as well. That you might feel like you're more of a sort of a figure, like that younger people, especially young girls, can look at you and can seek inspiration and think that what they can achieve in the game is not. There's no boundaries to that.
yeah. For me, I'm shy anyway. Like, and I come across like probably at least hard because you can't be shy as a goalkeeper because you're the one that needs to talk a lot. I don't know. I see it because I was in an environment where I go to the international team, and then obviously when the like young girls and they come to watch, and you're just like, wow, this is amazing and stuff like that. And I used to be on the other side. I used to go watch so for the time like an under-19s, and I'd be like, oh my God, like that's my friend on that pitch. So like seeing that side, and when I went into that environment, and then going into like the academy and like training alongside a younger group of girls, I was like, we've all got that same opportunity. So I was like, I don't know if it's because just being me, I just found it really hard that like they look up to me, and it was, I don't know why. And I was like, I get shy, I think, and then getting into that situation, and I feel like that girl on the other side as well. Like when I come to watch, and it's a weird thing, but it's nice to be that role model.
You've represented Wales 59 times. Is there any kind of moments that stood out to you when you have played?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of moments. There's big teams you play. There's obviously the one in 2018 where we played England and we drew. There was that qualifying campaign where we'd gone 7 games and we didn't lose 7 games. So like it was basically a case of we still can't make it to a World Cup qualifier, but that one particular game where everyone was like, you're going to get like battered in that game. And it was the biggest game that I played against in a crowd of 25,000, and it was a case of everyone's booing you. And after that game, when like you draw and it's like that huge moment, I was like, God, but you drew. And I was like, for Welsh football, that was huge. It was like that stepping stone. We'd had 7 basic games not being beaten, and that one then defeat in the end. It was a case of like, that's how hard it is. However, the stepping stone that we got to that point just made everything. But there's so many different instances, like being a goalkeeper, you're either a hero or you're not. And there's like, oh God, there's situations where I saved pens in qualifying stages to save a game, and you're just like, the adrenaline is just, oh my God, it's crazy. But there's so many moments and so many games you play, so many places you go to. Like, you would never go to Kazakhstan just in a general holiday. But yeah, different places, different teams, different experiences. But yeah.
With that England game as well, that you say that it was the biggest crowd you've ever been in, and obviously it was on national television as well. So that extra pressure that for you to perform, you won player of the match, keeping a clean sheet and making countless saves. Was like, and you got a lot of praise for that. Is that sort of something that maybe you'd never really gone through before?
Yeah, definitely. And like, it's a bigger stage, isn't it? At the time, England was second in the world, so it was like you go into this place and it's always like that England v Wales thing, but it's also playing against these top level athletes. The whole of the England team at that time, we were still semi-pro in a sense, and they were all full time in big clubs. And to draw and get so many different like people reaching out to you and stuff like that, which is completely opposite to probably a bit further down the line where I've got absolutely smashed on social media, just saying like you're the worst player to be playing in a Welsh shirt, compared to that game. And it was just like, this is a massive highlight of the career, and like that's when football was growing. So to get us all out there as a Welsh as a whole, but it's really hard because like you say, make all these saves, but when you watch the game back, there's so many players that stop so many shots, and like as a whole, we wanted to fight that day.
With that as well, you said about the kind of you weren't able to qualify for that World Cup, but was there that sense that every kind of qualifying campaign there was that belief that you could finally do it?
Yeah, God, we went through in my career, obviously at Wales, there was 3 different qualifying campaigns, and I think it was always a step further. And when we'd hit the one in Switzerland, and it was losing 2-1 on the like dying seconds, obviously as a goalkeeper it's like disheartening, like it's like all my fault and stuff. It was kind of like we had so much belief, and then that moment struck and you're like, I haven't got the energy to do this again. And it was kind of like in that moment you're like, I just can't do it. But as a group, I think we just collectively gone, look, it may feel like that we didn't make it to that point, but after that campaign, it was just like a new level of everybody got together and was just like, you go fight away from international, you work hard as you possibly can. And that moment in Ireland was just blew it all up.
You mentioned that the sort of that qualifying as well, and being a part of the squad of that. Did it feel like that was the sort of full circle moment that you knew that it was like we finally achieved what years prior that was sort of the goal, and it's finally been done?
Oh, 100%. It just felt like a tank that was going to explode. It was just like that release. It was just like, do you know what? We fought so hard. It was just standards and basically reaching this. It's just like those things you go back to, like having kit, the pitches and the facilities and stuff. So it was just like, it wasn't just about qualifying. It was where they were before and where we are now. And I think it just kind of, like you said, the full circle moment. You've been fighting for so long, like 8 odd years in my own career, but there's girls before me. I've just got to that point, and it's just like, we've made it now. Let's keep going.
That night as well, that Wales finally did it. Did that kind of spur you on to be like, right, I like from there then on in, you got to get yourself on that plane to Switzerland?
Oh, 100%. And unfortunately, it backfired a little bit. I think I suppose it goes from that point where I was part-time and I pushed myself so far that, maybe too far, that my body wanted to go, and unfortunately took a big hit to that injury. But I'm lucky to have a supportive environment within there, though I was still able to go out to Switzerland. I was able to obviously visit the girls, go on camp, go on their training session, and kind of be a little bit part of it. Because at the end of the day, that we were still part of that team that qualified, and yeah, I'm lucky to have a supportive environment on that side.
You said that you obviously injured your ACL. Like, obviously, that's a very, very serious injury within women's football as well, and very common injury. How kind of devastating was that for you, that you knew that you couldn't maybe be a part of the squad, kind of playing squad side of the tournament?
Yeah, like, it was a difficult time. Let's put it that way. It got to a point that just, I've watched, like, obviously Soph did it straight before me, and it was a case of, like, I've seen all the girls that have done it, like, and they made it look so easy, and it's never easy, and it's the most mentally, it's not just the physical side stuff, obviously, going through the, like, being quite active and not being able to move at all, because the recovery is very long-winded. The mental side of it was probably the hardest. We just qualified, and obviously going to Switzerland, and the media side of it, and it was so hard to see, because you're happy, you're going through all these emotions, but at the same time, like, it's in your face, and you're just like, I can't part between it's in my face and the mental side, that I wasn't going to be actually attending Switzerland as a player.
You said that about as well, kind of how difficult it is. You see everybody kind of basking in the glory of being able to go there, and you're sort of sat on the side, maybe thinking, you're not there. You hard work kind of has come to nothing.
Yeah.
Did that when Rhian Wilkinson allowed you to go with the squad, you felt that kind of that connection again, that you knew that you felt that regardless of what happened, it was like you're part of the squad that got Wales to that tournament.
Yeah, and like, look, they were hugely supportive, and there was a time where I just pushed them all away. I was like, just leave me alone. I needed to kind of soak it all up and just be like, accept it in a sense. It took me a long time to accept it. But even going seeing the girls, and I did struggle. I went there. I went to watch them train, and it was just like, I want to leave now, because I was like, I've obviously wanted to be there, but my head was like, get yourself away, get yourself away. But actually doing so, I kind of seen that side of being a fan, and how, and like you said, going as a role model, and just seeing the girls and how supportive people who follow the women's side like is huge. And you go to a pub and everyone's just like, you're just out for a day and everyone's just friendly, and it was just like, do you know what, this is a nice side to see the other side of the fence, which was quite heartwarming in a sense.
Despite the fact that obviously the tournament maybe wasn't the expected kind of, and it didn't maybe go the way we wanted it to go, but learning from that, is that kind of given the adrenaline and that belief again, it's that we know what it's like. It's then a situation where it's like we just keep, it's just the normal. It's not a one-off.
Yeah, so we knew that when we qualified that it was going to be tough. There's a reason why it's so difficult to get to a major tournament, because it's the best of the best, and I think it was a massive learning curve, knowing what we need to put in place for qualifying to another major tournament. It's just the background stuff, it's on the pitch stuff, but it's also getting the players, like you said, to the top levels to experience top level football consistently. But no, I think it's a huge learning curve. It was obviously an occasion, but lots to learn from it.
Talking that from then from the international stage to the club stage, you've obviously played for Gwalia for a large part of your career as well. How's that kind of evolved as well? You talk about with Wales and that women's football is going in the right direction in Wales.
Yeah, no, it's still got a long way to go. We obviously need to get that level of where, if we want to match the biggest teams in the world, we have to go fully professional. It's huge because you need big investment, you need risks. They're ever growing in Wales, that we have got teams now that are being paid to play. The girls are classed as semi-professional in some of the clubs. It's very difficult because the teams at the top of these Adrian leagues now have men's teams attached. It's how then we integrate the teams that don't have men's attached and getting people to invest into the teams and just take those small little risks. And playing with Gwalia, we're seeing it now, and we have investors coming in. There's the facilities have improved, just the whole side of what they want to put into it to get that up to that level. Like there's so many things going on in the background, and it's really nice to see, and it's growing. It'll take time, but it will get there.
You say that as well about the, how has that kind of environment changed over time, that especially in terms of attendances and people taking the interest in coming to games and essentially trying to grow the fan base?
Yeah, and it's a difficult one because, like you said, like the women's game has grown with social media, and it's been a huge help. It's getting yourself out there, and it's having those tools to do that. It's getting the word out there. We did a big thing, I think it was last year, that basically we were going out to schools and stuff, and we got quite a big crowd. I think we got 1,000 in Newport to come watch who Portsmouth were at the top of it might have been actually 2 years ago because they got promoted, but it was getting those levels. And when you see that many girls coming to a club game, you're just like, this is a level we want to be at. But it's how you consistently do that. But like I said, the more the game grows, the more girls are working day in, day out. So trying to get into schools all the time is a difficult thing. So the more the game grows, the more girls can get into semi-professional football, then you get those opportunities to grow the game.
If from kind of your experience as well, that the way the club is structured as well, that you've got 3 ex-players in Karen, Michelle, and Kerry, that how kind of is it good for them that they sort of get to see the club as well from that kind of point of view and where they were when they were at the club at the very early days of when it was there? And
oh god, yeah, and like it's like seeing it now and seeing like the younger side from my point, but for them, yeah, it's the whole fighting thing and what they went through to where football is now. So for a club at Gwalia now, where they started, and like obviously we've just gone, it's the 50th year this year, or last year, sorry, and it's a case of, yes, we are now growing this club where they wanted it to be, like where girls now are getting paid, like depending where we are, there might be the odd player that's now going into that's their job. They're getting paid enough to be able to focus just solely on football. We're not obviously quite there, but we're getting there, and it's for them to see that side of stuff. It's just women's football in Wales obviously is growing at a slower rate. It's just difficult to be that consistency, but from their point, it's just growing, and it's really nice to see on their side.
One final question as well is that where obviously the ambitions of the club as well, that it's not just there to kind of sit there and kind of try and they're trying to challenge the elite into that.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why we continue to play in the FA league and be in tier 3 at the moment, and we're seeing teams around us. They have gone professional, they're training more. So the club's ambition is huge. They've got loads of projects in the background, obviously. I'm not going to talk about because I'm not allowed to, but there's so much things going on that they want to make this game grow at a faster rate, be able to match those, and look, the aim is to go into Championship WSL, so it's a 5 to 10 year plan that they've got in place to get the club there. Obviously it'll be beyond my time, but I'll still be part of it, and I like to see and help as much as I can to see the game grow beyond my playing time.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Thank you about kind of your career and what you've achieved. So yeah, that was the end of the podcast, and thank you for listening.